you guys. So we have not been live in a while. Shit has been busy. Life is crazy. It is what it is. But we are here. We are here. Let me make sure I put up on the comments and can pull them up. So Chris and John Tisha are getting ready right now, but we want to welcome first. I have to pull this up because I think it's awesome. So I'm gonna give you guys a little hint. Period. Let's welcome Brittany back.
Hi guys, it's Brittany, bitch. No,
Did
I
you
got
like?
that.
Did you
I
like
did.
that one?
I did. I
I was
did.
like, I have to. I have to.
Yes, 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 yes. So good.
She is here. She is here.
hmm I
So, hi everyone.
squeezed it in.
She
Squeezed it
did.
in.
She squeezed it in. Brittany is super busy. She's a mom of 3 little ones. She has a hubby. She is a full-time student. She has
Yeah.
her hands full. So it's not that she's forgotten about us.
Mm-mm.
She just she got shit to do, you know?
Yeah.
She's trying to be great.
Oh, it's
And
tiring.
yeah.
It is
So
tiring.
Brittany made time for us and she squeezed in. Well, Brittany is part of Just Us, period. It doesn't matter if she's not here for months on end. When she's available, she's available. She's part of
Right.
this.
Right.
We are a family regardless. It's like one of those things like you don't see people all the time, but when you do, you pick up like nothing ever changed.
Yep. Never left.
We're a family here, period.
Yep. 100.
Hi, Nay. So as soon as Chris and John Tisha are ready, we're gonna get into all the tea. We have not been live in a while. We have been slacking.
Chris is making fun of me back there.
I just clicked on the comments. I just clicked on it. But yeah, so we have not been live. We've been just dealing with life. You know, life is what it is, unfortunately. But we're here now. We're ready. Um, did I lose you guys? Can you guys still see me? Okay. Because I'm like, I feel like all of a sudden I couldn't hear anymore.
Probably because I muted myself because these kids are insanity. They're going to bed though, so.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so we are going to talk about a whole bunch of things tonight. We are going to talk about Trump's most recent interview because I have been watching stuff. I've not really been on Facebook. I post little things here and there, but I wasn't really paying attention. Like I wasn't looking through my news feed. I wasn't doing all, that stuff. And then I started getting a bunch of people asking me questions. So then when I looked into it, and then I realized, shit, people are triggered. That's why you see all the trigger warnings in the back. People are super ass triggered. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Rona. I'm not going to say the actual word, Delta variant. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We've talked about it plenty of times before. I don't think we've talked too much about the Delta variant on this platform yet. And then we are going to do our salute to our fallen officers. That's something that this platform will do every time we have a show. And we will make sure that people never forget because those are true heroes. That being said, hi Shirley, how are you? Okay, I was just making sure reading I was reading our private chat. We have a private chat where we watch this, so there's that. Like I'm seeing. Don't forget to please like and share the video. When you do share it, please make it public so that it can reach more people. Okay. Like I said, in the meantime, Brittany, why don't you talk for a little bit and tell people what you've been up to?
Oh my gosh, everything. Um, yeah. I wake up every morning and like look at my phone like we all probably do. And I do check the news and just kind of see what's going on. I really like last year we went hard with this stuff, right, Shell? Like we like went hard on like everything we talked about, and it was super inspiring, super amazing. But with me being in school, I've been in school for 2 years now, and I got 2 more years to go. So it was super overwhelming. So I kind of just take in what my brain can each day. And more lately, certain topics I've been getting a little more involved in. And I think it's awesome, actually. I know Shelly says that people are triggered, and it's like I'm seeing an evolution, and it's kind of exciting. Just like I've allowed myself to kind of step, I don't want to say necessarily on the outside, but just observe, not being so in it and not surrounding myself with like the masses as hard as we did last year, and just observing. And it's been kind of enlightening and exciting at the same time, because I feel like I have a clear head. We look at 2020 and we had this at each other's throats, and like I'm actually kind of starting to see unity, if I dare say that, and not necessarily in the medical world, because we know that that's just another argument. But as far as like politics, like we're all in agreement that this is a hot mess. And it's not so I mean, people are still being ugly on social media, but it's just the great SARS-2 debate. I guess we could probably say that over the C word, because that tricks them. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's just it's nuts, man. Like I said, I'm in my top classes for finishing up this second associates that I have, and I'm moving on to the bachelor's. So when you get 300 and 400 level classes, it's kind of a what? It's intimidating, to say the least. So I've just been trying to keep sane, run my business. I went to Disney World. That was fun in the summer. Got to go camping, went to Washington State. It's good. It's good. Yep. There you go. Good job. That's awesome, Truth Seeker. That's good. It is. It's all temporary, right? Like, this is all stressful and crazy, but I'm still young. I still feel somewhat young. I physically feel older than I technically am. But thank you to the military. But it's all temporary and for the greater good at the end. So it is what it is.
Period. Period. Yeah, no, I've been so I've not really been looking at the articles too much. I started doing a lot of reading today because I knew we were doing this video, and I've been doing some like little readings throughout the last few days. And for me, well, we'll play the video first, and then we'll kind of all give you our own personal opinions on how we feel towards the subjects that we're going to talk about today. I think with last year, when you mentioned that we kind of all went hard and we were like giving what we knew and trying to open people's eyes as to what was to come if things did not go the way we wanted them to. And I think that that's very, very obvious what's happening right now. A lot of the shit that we talked about and said was going to happen is happening.
Remember hashtag fuck it up.
Period.
So enough said.
Exactly. And I think that when you said that, I think it's, for lack of a better term, bringing some sort of unity, because I think people are opening their eyes as to what's happening and looking at everything that's going on in the world. Like, I think from the minute presidency took over, this new administration took over, I think one of the first thing was the bombing in Syria, wasn't it? I think that was like within 30 days of him taking presidency. I think that was the first thing. And then it's literally just been a world of shit, for the lack of a better. I did receive that, Janet. Thank you. So for the lack of a better term, it's turned into a shit show. And unfortunately, we as Americans are going to be on the receiving end of that. And this is not to insult people. It's not to make you feel bad about choices you made. Some people made them because they just truly don't know. But I think that people need to start opening their minds and really paying attention to what happens, because this does affect us. It will affect future generations if we don't start paying attention. It doesn't mean you got to be as involved as we are. It doesn't mean you got to read every article. It doesn't mean you have to watch every video of what everyone says, but start paying attention to something. At least policy should be the main important thing. And again, I've said it and I will repeat it over and over again. I am no longer a Democrat, but I am not a Republican. I refuse to pick a side when there has been corruption on both sides. That being said, I will vote based on policy, and the person's policies who align with my morals is who I will choose. So, and I think that everybody on this platform wants the same for everybody out there. We just want to inform you. What you do with the information is on you. Hopefully it sheds a little light into some things you're not so familiar with. But we're not trying to make you believe what we believe. We just want to plant a seed and have you start somewhere, because it does affect us as Americans. I'm not sure. Let me look at the message. Let's see if they're ready. Ready when you are. Not months later like Britt, but you know. Oh my God. I just read that out loud.
Jokes all day. They're such turds.
All right, let's welcome my friends.
It's off. Hey, how's the sound? Is it echoey still?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wonderful. Nope. New setup, so the camera's kind of wonky.
Ready? You got to do your shout opening. Ready?
Hello. How are you?
I didn't do that today because you guys called me on it last time.
That's so funny.
I definitely didn't do it today.
You do that.
I know, but I didn't.
That's your theme, though. We look forward to it.
But I didn't do it today because now I feel some type of weight.
Give her like 2 other shows. She'll just forget you said it. She'll be like, natural.
Did you guys see, like, before I announced Brittany was here, I put this up.
It's true.
Look at
she
me.
Died. She died.
You're muted.
Well, I think because Tisha's laughing so hard.
She's dead.
She died.
She's died. Oh, she's gone.
It's the Chris. Just change the name. It's the Chris Show. Oh, there she is. Just kidding.
She's not dead.
Oh, that's so funny.
She's back. She got it together.
Oh,
she's a.
It's so scratchy. Don't make me laugh for the rest of the night.
Oh.
Did you see my vein? It was nice.
Then I gotta go.
All right.
I know. God help me.
Jesus.
Let's get into it. Chris, John T. Show, can you guys pull up the first video that I sent? Let's get into the tea. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. I got one hand down over here. I'm doing my nails.
How are we going to do that?
With what?
Because that sound is this sound.
If you can, I can pull it up.
No, try it.
The first video you said?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Which video?
The first one where I said...
With Anomaly?
Yes. So we're just going to play the first few minutes of that, and then I'll tell you when to kill it so that we can talk about it.
Oh, that shit sounds small.
This is the... This is the video that has people triggered. And when I say the word triggered, I mean triggered. And I will say this. I'm going to say it because I thought it, and it is what it is. People get mad, you get mad. It is what it is. I found it really, really funny that people were that triggered. I found it super funny that people were that triggered because for me, we have talked about this so many times. It's the hypocrisy for me. It gets me every time. So we can, and not we, because we try not to, um, we try not to be mean or nasty. Everybody is welcome. Everybody deserves to be heard. But I find it super, super funny that all last year you heard people um, calling liberals or extreme leftists like Karens and all this stuff and showing all these videos saying triggered. And now former President Donald Trump says one thing, or actually lack of one thing as well, to be honest. But and people are going off the handle, like literally going off the handle. I don't know. For me, it's the hypocrisy, but we're gonna let you guys watch it. Play it when you're ready.
Get your take on needing proof.
Trump was finally asked about the vaccine passports and having to show your vaccine papers to eat at a restaurant, and his answer speaks for itself.
I want to get your take on needing proof to go into restaurants, needing proof of a vaccine to go into certain stores. Your thoughts on where we are with these new mask mandates coming back. And now the FDA has approved a coronavirus booster shot. The administration is getting set to recommend a third shot for the fully vaccinated. Sir, would you get a booster shot?
Let me tell you, I'm very proud of the vaccines. The vaccines weren't supposed to happen for 3 to 5 years. I brought the FDA in. Nobody has talked to the FDA like I did. They don't like me very much. We have a vaccine, and it's saving millions of lives throughout the world. I think we'd have a Spanish flu situation like in 1917. I really do. I believe that. And we're, maybe 100 million people, 50 million, 100 million people like that. So I'm very proud of the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine. I'm very, very proud of it. At the same time, some people don't want to take it. And, when I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. If you just think back, everybody wanted to get it. And we were giving out over 1 million shots a day. We had that thing rocking. And he's now president, and he's doing a lousy job with coronavirus. Coronavirus is back. If that ever happened to me where it came back, okay, when I left, it was virtually gone. It was over. It was a path. Now it's coming back through the Delta, and I don't know if you even want to call it that. All you call it is the China virus is back. And so why is he doing a good job? He did a bad job with SARS, the H1N1, very bad job, a joke of a job, a horrible job. All of a sudden they said, oh, he's doing so well. I'm the one that did well. I'm the one that got all the equipment. I'm the one that got the vaccine. I'm the one that did well. If it came back, can you imagine if I were president and it came back at a level where it's just as bad right now in some cases? The press would decimate me.
He not only shows zero interest or care or concern for the millions of nurses who work for him being forced vaccinated or the millions of workers who voted for him who are stuck in this scenario. He uses it as an opportunity to be a used car salesman for the product that he cares so much about, and even lies and says the reason that some people don't want the vaccine is because Joe Biden's president.
When I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. If you just think back.
He doesn't say he sides with the protesters. He says if he was president, there would be no protesters. This is the freedom opposition leader in America who is probably more popular than anybody on the planet, asked about the most important topic on the planet that's facing Australia, UK, America, New York City, Los Angeles, soon to go across all 50 states on a corporate level. And he doesn't give a shit. He literally doesn't care about you. He literally doesn't care about it at all. And I've been trying to tell people this for a year because I've been listening to him talk, and I can tell that he doesn't care about it. And he finally answered the question by not answering the question, selling his jab like a used car salesman, me, and not answering at all.
I'm the one that did well. I'm the one that got all the equipment. I'm the one that got the vaccine. I'm the one that did well.
He's so proud of rushing this to public. He's so proud of bringing the mass testing to public. He's so proud of bringing the ventilators to public. This is literally who he is. And I know people don't realize it because it's like this big fan base where everybody acts like he's the Oakland Raiders winning a sports game. And oh my God, they're so cool. And they post pictures of how he's a Ninja Turtle sitting with Nikola Tesla and JFK Jr. in an underground water tunnel. So they don't actually pay attention to reality, and what he did and what he says is becoming a huge problem. The modern Republicans are just as bad as Bush Republicans. They just think that they're not now. With these NPC takes on Afghanistan, forget Afghanistan. You have to show papers in order to sit at a restaurant in New York City, the greatest city in our country. That's a bigger story. And nobody wants to question the president, so we wouldn't have even known how little he cares if Maria Bartiromo didn't ask the question that everyone else is afraid to ask the president. How is he going to be an effective leader for this movement if he can't even weigh in on the most important issue? He's not an effective leader. He led you to demise in 2020 with the lockdowns, Operation Warp Speed, the extension, and smearing Sweden. He led you to failure at the Capitol event. He's not an effective leader. Seriously, you can make excuses for what I just played, but if you lined up the dumbest conservatives from any organization, literally 1,000, not of the best conservatives, of the worst conservatives, and you ask them that same question, what do you guys think about having to show your papers to sit at a New York City restaurant? Every single conservative would have answered that question better than Donald Trump. That was seriously either the dumbest, the fakest, or the most delusional answer I've ever heard.
I want to get your take on needing proof to go into restaurants, needing proof of a vaccine to go into certain stores.
You know, when I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. If you just think back.
And the fact that this guy is not being critiqued or questioned at all by the conservative movement, he's being idolized as if he's some sort of savior of humanity, when in fact, he's literally the opposite, telling you he's the opposite and showing you so obviously he doesn't care at all.
And they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it.
You're incentivizing him to not care. You're becoming the problem. And although after that, he did weigh in on booster shots and he said that he thinks Pfizer is doing it for money, which is awesome. That's the old Trump that we loved.
All right, we're going to stop it there. So, who wants to go first on this?
I'll just say that I don't care who introduced the vaccine. When he first brought it up, I was like, nope, I'm not taking it. So it didn't matter who introduced it. I wasn't going to do it anyways, period. That's and the other thing I was telling you guys when we were talking about it was that I know some people like question Trump, have been questioning Trump since I don't know, since elections or since the administration came in this year, like really questioning things and whatever. We've said it multiple times before that it really is about policy and not about the person. Like if their policies line up with my beliefs, what I want to see happen, you know, my perspective, like those things, if it lines up with a majority of those things, then obviously I'm going to vote for that person. So if at the end of the day, if Trump changes position on a majority of things that I agreed with him with before, then he doesn't get my vote. But period. There's that. Those are my 2 cents.
All right, so I'll go next. So from this first clip, he said people are not, when he was president, people were not protesting the vaccine. I don't necessarily think that people are protesting the vaccine right now. Like, there's not a large group out there that are protesting the vaccine as a whole, as in like they don't want it, they don't think anybody should take it. Now, there might be a small group, we'll say there is a small group out there that are those true anti-vaxxers. And they don't believe in any vaccine for anybody. I think most of what he might be looking at as protesting is my body, my choice. If I don't want to get it, I shouldn't have to get it. I shouldn't be forced to get it. It shouldn't be a requirement for school, for jobs. that's where people's concerns are, just like the mask. Like, people aren't protesting masks in general. It's more of a, hey, if you want to take the vaccine or you want to wear the mask, that's on you. I think even when he was doing it, like, I know when he first came out and he said, we're going to have a vaccine by the end of the year. I mean, and his goal was to have it within a year, right? And then we got it. I mean, there's a lot of things I support about, that Trump did. I like the fact that he came in, he kind of shook things up. He was different. He wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. I think he exposed the media more than they've ever been exposed for the liars and the corruption that they are. And a lot of politicians on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. But we all know he can lie. We all know he's a salesman. He's in it for himself. I mean, and that's kind of, he stood behind the America First, but I know I rolled with it because even though it might have been for selfish reasons, like, he really was helping out America because that might have made him more money. But a lot of his stuff, I do feel like was, to put us back in charge. But even with all that, as soon as he said vaccine within a year, I was like, no, there's just, to me, I was vaccine hesitant when Trump was president. And I disagreed with him. And I think that's where our people that are on the left, Democrats, they have a hard time believing that there are a lot of Republicans or a lot of conservatives, because I'm not a Republican or a conservative, but there's a lot of us out there that, even though we might have supported Trump, we didn't support everything he did and said. And that's the same thing you could say for Biden right now. I'll stop right there for a second.
Answer the question.
What was the question? Oh, I'm sorry. Is your job, if your job mandates y'all won't take it? No, I will not. And I'm getting so I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about signing back up for the military, re-enlisting. I have everything, like a lot of my paperwork's done. I could roll right into a cush job. I get a promotion out of it real quick. Like, I got things lined up, and I'm walking away from it all because I'm not going to be a hypocrite. There's something about it that don't feel right. If my recruiter ever watches this, he'll probably be like, damn, you told everybody before you told me. I haven't told the recruiter yet. But I waited to see if, or I should say retention officer. I waited to see what they were going to do. They said September 15th. I told John Tisha, I was like, I guarantee you it's going to be a week or two before that. I said I could even see them going to the 14th and watch that. On the 14th, they're going to say, hey, they're going to push us to get fully approved. And then on the 15th, it's a full on sprint for everything to get mandated. The military is going to crack down on it.
But also you said that when they announced it, you said that the FDA or someone's going to go approve the vaccine right before that mandate comes out.
Yep.
Yeah, he said that during a live.
Yeah.
He said that during a live.
And they did it. And the reason why is because this is political. At this point, no matter what they say, and this is why people are in the situation that they're in, or we're in the situation as a nation, they have made everything so political that even if the vaccine is 100% effective, even if the vaccine works and there's not going to be, the side effects are very minimal, they have done so much damage and made people so hesitant that even somebody like me, where I'm pretty good at weighing the risk and stuff, there's just something about it. I mean, I'm not going to say all of them. Like, if I were going to take a vaccine, because I thought about this today, it would be J&J. Just because it's not the mRNA, but the risk is, what was it, blood clots or something like that? Like,
well, there's a bunch of stuff.
But, I mean, there's risk with the other ones too, but as far as my day job, my civilian job, on the job that I'm doing right now, I'm pretty sure comes, within the next couple of weeks, they're going to mandate me to take that shot, and I will tell them no, and I will probably lose that position, but I won't lose my job. They'll just have to reassign me to a job that doesn't require the vaccine. And I work for, I'll put out there, I work for the federal government. When they come and they say, hey, you need to take the shot to keep your federal job, that was not part of my employment. When I signed up for the job, there was no requirement to take any shots. I did not have to provide any proof of vaccine. So that was not a part of my what do they call the? Damn, I can't remember what we call it, but my right, not my rights employment, but
description.
Yeah,
job description.
yeah, pretty much. It wasn't a requirement for my employment, so I'll tell them no. I already know that the area. I mean, I can kind of do that because I know where I'm at this moment. There's a slot for me, but I'm just not going to do it. I don't think that they should force it, and I've always been that type of person. I'm going to stand by my gun and not. I'm not. And if they want to call me anti-vax, they can. My work, the military, I got a whole. I mean, Brittany, you had to go through the same lines that I did. I got a whole 2-3 pages worth of vaccines. I mean, so there was stuff I got that I didn't even realize I got until this last year, just because I never questioned it. And now, I'm the first one I'm questioning, and it's the one that's going to punish me the most. But it is what it is. So to answer the question from whoever asked, no, I'm sticking to my guns. But that's a personal choice.
Yep. I am blessed to work from home and collect, some VA disability. But I just, like Chris said, we got 2-3 pages of vaccines. I laugh when people kind of pin us as anti-vax just because that's funny. And it's not. And I also went to pharmacy tech school for a year. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert in anything, but I remember the phases. There's 4 phases of step 3 of the FDA approval process. And that's something that's supposed to happen over time. And I'm so pro-science. Like I talk to nurses on the daily. I talk to a nurse who's in Modesto, who's my sister-in-law. She's a RN at Kaiser. And then I speak with a friend of mine from high school who's a nurse in Florida. And they both just share with me their experiences with the variant. And in my head for a minute, I'm like, man, maybe at least me or my husband should get vaccinated just in case, because it's taking out bodybuilders who are unvaccinated, like totally healthy people. And it's legit scary. And I don't not trust the science, but just the way they corner you, they like corner you. Well, if you want to do this, it's like trying to squeeze you through this like little hallway where you have no choice but to go straight. And that's where, especially being in the military in the past, I'm like, nope, you ain't controlling me again. Because no way is, and I told my husband that too. I said, I think 60% of the reason I don't want this vaccine is because of the way they're handling it. The way they're like putting you in a corner and saying, come here. I always, I compare it to like, the creepy van that says free candy, like, come here, little girl. Like, I always like compare it. Like, that's what they're doing with this vaccine is like, come on, people, don't you want it? And now with this mandate, they're putting these people in these situations who can't necessarily afford to leave their job. They're freaking out. They're stressed. Like, it's not fair. Sidebar, Pfizer actually refused money from the government, not trying to coerce anybody, but just a little cool fact that I found out was they were offered money from the government and they told them back in 2020, and they said, no, thank you. They didn't want to be monitored and have to provide every penny that they spent and progress reports and all this stuff towards the money. BioNTech did take money from the UK and the German governments, but I think that was more like to secure that they got their pieces of the vaccine. But just a cool fact, the other 2 companies did take money from the government. I don't know, for what it's worth. I thought that was kind of a punk rock thing to do. Like, nope, we don't want your money. And they did invest their own. But it just reminded me when you said how Trump said that, like, that they are in it for the money. Well, I mean, yeah, business 101. If the government was saying, hey, you're going to save the world, hypothetically, like, you'd be in it for the money too. He would be in it for the money too. So I didn't necessarily like, it's kind of a hypocritical comment on his end. But
didn't Pfizer, I don't know if it was Pfizer or if it was one of the other ones, but didn't they take money from Trump also?
No, they refused it. They refused it from Operation Warp Speed. They ended up using 20 million of their own, is what I had read.
But none of his. No, I don't mean from like the White House. I mean directly from Trump.
Oh, I'm not sure.
There was Anomaly had posted donations, and Biden donated like 8 million or something, and Trump was underneath with 2 million.
No, I believe that's money they received.
They gave that money
That's
to them.
money their campaigns received.
Oh, the campaigns. Got
Right.
it.
When he
Trump's
was campaigning.
campaign received 2 million. Biden's campaign received
Right.
8 million.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what it was.
So yeah, with that though, like I know everyone's like the argument of I can't even say left or right anymore, but of course they're making bank. I mean, vaccines aren't high yielding income in the first place. They're really not. They don't make the most pharmaceutical money as far as profits, but they definitely are making money. But I mean, that's what businesses do. That's 3M made money off masks. I mean, it is what it is. It's everybody's making money, but dang it, what was I also gonna say?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I totally spaced out on what I was gonna say. Oh, the fact that VAERS. So this is the argument is that like I had a guy just last night who was arguing about oh, there's no injuries. The CDC states no injuries and no deaths. Well, yeah, but if you look at the VAERS system, there's over 81,000 reports, and it's like these people are getting swept under the rug and ignored, and I'm sure they have to investigate, and I'm sure they're dragging their feet to investigate it. And part of me, like this much, understands because they're trying not to fear people of like thinking that it's going to be for everybody. You know, like when they did the COVID numbers and they were like 10,000 people have died, and you're like, oh my God, but there's 3 billion people in the country. You know what I mean? Like when you hear big numbers, you're like, holy crap. And so yeah, 81,000 reports.
4%.
Yeah, 81,000 people on a scale, but like the fact that they're not acknowledging the risk and not making it a choice, that's where it bothers me, because we don't have the studies. And how, when there's risk, how can you force? You cannot force when there's risk. That's just not humane. And to say that the vaccine works for everybody is a bunch of crap. You can't use the words everybody and all, and we all need to do this. No, because it's proven. There's babies with vaccine injuries from simple pediatric vaccines that we get and most people are fine with, but then there's that population that's not. And a lot of those videos are like, I just wanted to help the country and now I can't walk. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, it's not, they shouldn't be forcing people. It blows my freaking mind.
So,
No, go ahead.
all right. So, like I seen one comment about the chemicals in the vats or what is in the vaccine. And that kind of goes back to, you know, the research and the study. Like we hear this stuff, and this is just my opinion and something I want to put out to those that are listening. I know there's a lot of information, and I'm not the first. Like I hate the fact that they say misinformation, disinformation, but sometimes they pump out so much stuff. It's hard to know what is real and what is false. So I've heard this, you know, hey, there's nanotechnology in the vaccines or whatever, right? This is why I'm skeptical overall. I don't know what's in it. Matter of fact, I don't know what's in any of the vaccines I've taken or that I've been given.
That's true.
And now that I think about it, like that's scary. We put a lot of trust into these people, and now it's kind of got me questioning what is in them.
Well, and Chris, so this was something one of my well, she's active still, but one of my fellow military members had said, like, she kind of had asked, like, if you're in the military and you're active, why are you so against it? And one of the comments on there was from another military member, and he said, you all were taking XYZ supplements from GNC, which are not FDA approved, and now you're worried about, and I'm like thinking, man, I used to pump like 2 Monsters a day in my body. I drank copious amounts of alcohol in the military, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I don't know what's in it. Like, come on. Like, but just the coercion thing, it grosses me out.
See, and I've heard that argument too, and so personally, I think there is a little bit of difference. You know, here's something that's supposed to be taking care of a virus, especially with the mRNA. Here's something that goes in. It's not altering your DNA at the core. Do some research. You'll see it goes into your cells, and it's supposed to make proteins or whatever. That's what we get from them. That's what you could research and find, right? And then, yes, I've had somebody go, well, you take multivitamins, you take this, you taking that. And this goes back to, hey, now when I'm looking at the stuff that I'm putting in my body, I'm not going to lie, over the last year, I'm a little bit more aware, like, okay, yeah, there is a lot of this stuff that I'd never even thought about before that was not FDA approved. What is this doing to me? it's got me questioning a lot more. And I think that's where people need to be like it. Question what not just this vaccine, but question the other stuff that they're giving you. What is it doing to you? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that going overboard, like with I want to say to the point where you almost seem like you're anti-vaxxer, you're against everything. That's where you start sounding crazy, and because I don't think everybody's out here to kill us or to hurt us. And what I'm getting to is like there was another comment about the population control. I'm not gonna lie, and I think I might have said this on a live at first. I was thinking like, hey, maybe this is China's way of reducing their population. I truly believe that. Now I don't know. There's so many stories out there. Like they're saying, if you take the vaccine, it's going to kill you within 2 to 5 years. That just sounds crazy. I don't think, honestly, I don't think it is population control. I think that they messed up in a lab somewhere and it got out of hand and now we're suffering for it. And population control, no, but it is killing people, and that's it for sure.
So I want to just kind of touch back on the whole like Trump thing. So like Chris, you had said something about like people like questioning things more, and I think Brittany mentioned it too, that people are questioning things more. And I don't see anything wrong with that, to be honest. I think you should question everyone and everything. If it has to do with your well-being and the well-being of your family, question that shit, period. See, I don't have a problem questioning Trump, right? Because again, I want somebody who is going to be stand up. Now, my personal opinion about this particular video, this is the part that I don't get, is I did not see a different Trump than I seen the last 4 or 5 years. I didn't see a different Trump. I saw the same Trump. Yeah. He has moments where he babbles. He has moments where he talks about himself and hypes himself up. He has never had a different stance in regards to Operation Warp Speed, right? I think that when COVID came and things hit, like in the video, Anomaly talks about he buckled to all the lockdowns and all the things. And I think that's kind of an unfair statement. I'm going to call Anomaly out on it. I don't know him. I like him. I like his videos. I think that I can learn from everybody. I watch his stuff. But I think I'm going to call him out on it because he came out with the fact that Trump was like he buckled to all these things. Let's be 100% honest. Did he have a choice? Did he have a choice? Because COVID has never, ever been here, period. Nobody could have said they would have, should have, could have, would have, I would have done better. This black. No, I don't want to hear that bullshit. Like, I mean, we need to call a spade a spade. And I think that in days, and I have no problem with the questioning of Trump not directly answering the question. I would have liked to see him answer the question directly. I would have. But I don't think that his stance has been any different. He's promoted Operation Warp Speed from day one. He promoted it going into the elections. He promoted the vaccine from day one. The only thing I liked different was the fact that he was about my body, my choice.
Right.
Well, I don't understand. To be honest, I don't really understand why people are triggered. I really don't. So, like, did you want him to like go there? Did you want him to go up there and just like start motherfucking everything? And like, I don't know. At the end of the day, he hasn't announced he's going to run for president. And I think that even though he is a businessman first and foremost, I think that to get in 2024, if he plans on running, I think he was going to run because he's been rallying. So I think, why would you rally if you're not going to run? That's just my opinion. But I think that there are certain things, especially with COVID and now, you know, people are fear-mongering and fear-mongering wins. Look how many people in today's world, like I've been out and stuff and people are like, wear a mask. I'm like, well, if you're vaccinated and you have a mask, why are you worried about me wearing a mask? Like, if all your stuff works, worry about yourself. Don't worry about me. You know what I mean? If you believe the mask works, and you believe that the shot works, then you're good because you had all that. So don't worry about me. Let me worry about me. So for me, I just to be honest, I just didn't understand. I still don't. I can't get it. I try wrapping my head around it.
So I think, and I'm on your page, but like on the other side of the page, not like the same side of the same page. There she goes. um, no, I think so. From when I watched it and how I felt, like yes, that's always been Trump. But I feel like before, when he was in office, he had to brag about what he was doing because the media was eating him apart on what they were saying he wasn't supposed, or what he wasn't doing, or he wasn't doing enough. So when he was up there and was like, I did this, remember, it was me. I was like, yes, you did, sir. Absolutely, you did. But then now, like, I almost felt like an old, Vietnam vet where they're like, back in Nam, I was badass. Like, and it's like, buddy, like, let's move on. You had your great days. Like, you know what I mean? And that's like what it reminded me of. Like, okay, like there was no reason. He could have totally been humble there, which I know is kind of an oxymoron for Trump, but like he could have just not repeated the same rhetoric. Like, oh, that was me that did it. Well, let's not talk about me. Like, even if you're not campaigning or you are campaigning, like, what would you have done about it right now? Just to see. Because I would have loved to see how he would have handled it. And if he would have said, no, this mandate's stupid, I would never do it. People wouldn't have protested. Even if he would have answered the question, I think I would have, like, received the cockiness a little better. But the fact that he like wholeheartedly avoided it just to be like, it was me, everybody, remember? It was me, this guy who has two thumbs and did Operation Warp Speed, this guy. Like,
I think he's
I agree 100%.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I agree with her 100% on that. I agree. I just still don't understand the whole, like, people are triggered and people saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for him. He doesn't give a shit about people. And I'm like, you got all that from that? I just saw Trump being Trump, to be honest. I was like, calm down. You're acting like the liberals you talk about.
So, and I just talked about this with Wayne. I said, I'd still vote for Trump just because of what we have to choose from. I still see him as the higher, more get her done type president. But he's been kind of losing the decline. Like with the pardons, I kind of like lost a little bit there. You know what I mean? Like the people he didn't pardon that I personally felt he should have, and just stuff from there. But like that was just one of those things that's like, really? Like, you know what I mean? Like all it would take is somebody like-minded, but like humbler, I guess. And I'd probably vote for them too, because I still would vote for him. I wouldn't go as far to be like, oh, I wouldn't vote for him or I regret it or nothing. But like, I just still, there's more room to grow now that he's not so much under pressure. You know what I mean? Like he's not being targeted, but he's reacting as if he is.
Well, I think that, does he have the right to feel that he's targeted? How many times has Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any other people from the squad, since he has left office, every time, if I'm not mistaken, within the last week, Biden blamed Trump for something else. So I think that he has the right to be on the defense. And I agree, when I tell you 100%, I agree that he should have answered the direct question, answer it directly, and we could have left all the other stuff out. But I think I can see his point where he's going to be on defense because the media has not been fair to him. The media is still not fair to him, to be honest.
No, he's still a racist, all that other stuff.
They have Afghan leaders on fucking Twitter, of all places, running their mouths. But you didn't allow the president of the United States to run his mouth. Like, to me, it's like, make that make sense. You know what I mean? But
it's political, and I think this is where, he's still the same old Trump. I mean, he still has those tendencies, but what you saw was him still in this political state of mind because he deflected from the question. Just like, and that was when I listened to it, I was like, oh, he just did a typical politician move.
I was saying he did a Kamala.
Yeah. I mean, but how many times, like, I've been following this Afghanistan thing and watching Fox and CNN and all these other news outlets just to see, because I feel like CNN's actually kind of doing a decent job in some areas when it comes to this. And I'm not a big CNN fan, but they got a reporter on the ground and whatever, right? My point is that how many times have we've seen people go to these government officials, ask them questions, and they deflect. And I feel like that's what he did. He did a typical politician move, and then did what Trump does best, and went right back to talking to him about himself and what he's done because he's been attacked.
Yeah, I actually agree with all of that. To be honest, I would have liked to see a more humble him. I agree 100%, Brittany.
One other thing Anomaly had brought up that I know stood out to me was one, he was talking about he brought up the Capitol event, and that's kind of where I had to take a guess. Okay, well, the way it seemed like to me, like he was saying that he kind of stoked the flame in that he
said he set us up, like
yeah. And now you know what, I don't think he would. Why would he do that? But okay, so that comment kind of threw me off guard. Okay, he didn't. If you really have been following along and you really watched the videotapes, yes, there was 2 different events going on. The FBI just came out and debunked the whole thing, and there was bad things that happened. It wasn't an insurrection. It was a riot. People were acting stupid, but there were 2 different events going on, and some people did go in, and there was a lot of people that were outside. I don't think he planned for that. I think that was a premeditative thing that happened at the Capitol. So when he said that, I was like, I don't know, buddy. Now you're sounding a little leftist, but I like the fact that he's speaking his mind and he's got a different opinion, because a lot of people, at least he's coming to the middle of the table. Everybody, there's so many times where you got somebody there on the left or the right, and they never want to come to the middle. So I was like, I respect that. What I did like about what he said, though, is that he said he started the lockdown. And here's another thing where I disagreed with Trump and what he did. And I know if I could get my dad to tell you, because me and him went back and forth. As soon as he said we're going to do 15 days to lock down, and me and my dad was like, hey, did you hear what's going on? And I said, this is bullshit. If you let 15 days, and listen to everything the CDC has said, we recommend, and I don't understand how recommendations for 15 days to lock down turned into mandatory. The CDC makes a recommendation and it becomes mandatory law. That is crazy. But he did the 15 days, and I told him if he really goes through with 15 days, this is never going to end, because we got so much propaganda being forced out there. There's so much bullshit when Nancy Pelosi saying it wasn't real and, come down to Chinatown and then turn around and flip the script and said it was. 15 days turned into 30 days, and then 30 days turned into today. I mean, we're still here going through the same BS because he allowed it to happen. I think, to me, that was his biggest failure as a president, is when he said, we're going to go through with this 15 days to slow the spread. If he wouldn't have done that, I do not think we would be here talking about masks or vaccines or any of that other stuff.
I don't know. I think that, yes, he shouldn't have agreed with that. He shouldn't have rolled with that. But I think that regardless, I think it would have happened. Look at what's happening in states now. And it just depends on who your governor is and what policies they're pushing. So I think that regardless, look what's happening in Florida as opposed to Chicago, right? So our mayor just came out today mandating all city employees to get the vaccine. You guys watching me? City employees? That came out today. With all due respect, Mayor, my body, my choice. I'm just saying. I'm going to fight that with everything I have because I'm not getting it, period. So, but I think that, again, my point is more that whoever governs your state, and if you look at what's happening now that we have President Biden, all blue states, and I'm not trying to make this about blue and red because I don't really care about parties anymore. I've washed my hands with parties because I believe there's evil on both sides of that. But depending on who governs, why are all the Democrat states back in lockdown? We're back in lockdown. Mask mandates started on Friday. It's all rolling. It's still there.
We are too, but nobody does it down here. Probably the same for you guys, right? Yeah, my brother lives in Modesto, and he said that nobody cares in Modesto.
No, because I think that's a big misconception with California. They look at LA, the Bay Area, and I mean, okay, we'll say a little bit of SAC, but the rest of us, there's so many more Californians, even Democrats, and that like this Republican recall for Gavin. No, there's a lot of Democrats that don't like what's going on, and there's a lot more people out, especially out here in the Central Valley, from Bakersfield to Sacramento. We're just not having it no more.
Yeah, well, and that's us. I mean, I have the same governor as Portland does, but I only wear my mask in a hospital. Literally, like if I go to a doctor's appointment, that's when I have my mask on, and that is it. It's literally. I was at an event a weekend or two ago, and the building, they all have to say masks mandatory. The building physically has to say it, but I was the only one. Me and like probably 3 other old people who were not wearing our masks. You too? She's not trying to talk. She's hoarse.
I don't know what it is, but when I laugh or I don't know, whatever, I got this little itch in my throat, and it's you've seen what it does.
So another thing, like the way he was talking, and he was talking about, and I think you said like people were getting riled up over what he was saying. And I think it's funny where somebody like him speaks his mind, right? And we can go and I think this panel, we can listen to and be like, okay, there's some things he said I agree with, and then there's some things he didn't, and then I like some of his comments. He brought up some good points. I hate this where we put people in like 2 hard groups. Either everybody's Democrat or the Republican. They're either supported Biden or, you know, if you didn't vote for Biden, we're all hardcore Trump supporters. And I think that group that idolizes, and I'm not just talking Trump supporters, I'm talking about there is a real group out there that really idolizes Trump. And they are his biggest fan base. Like they know all the things about him. They probably could tell you his birthday and all the businesses he owns because that's how invested they are. They see him like a teenager sees, one of their favorite rappers or something like that. Like they know all the stuff about him. That group is very small, and those are the ones that they're going to focus on to make everybody else look bad. But that group does not speak for all independents, all conservatives. So when they say, conservatives are losing it because Trump said that, no, I listened to it and I was like, whatever. He's not the president, so I just took it as him talking about the vaccine.
Yeah. It's extremes. I was talking to my husband about this too. I'm like, I go through these different motions. Like I went through like my be kind phase, I went through this, and now I'm like in this moment, like I just posted actually in our private chat about the gray area. Like it's okay to have a gray area. And when you put yourself in the gray area, you tend to see a lot more clearly, which is kind of a oxymoron, gray, cloudy. But anyways, so when you're there, like, and it's just people aren't self-checking themselves. You know what I mean? They're not self-checking, and they're so focused on this storyline or this storyline that they're too afraid to look over and be like, oh, okay, that storyline over there kind of seems all right. Like, and they're not deciding for themselves. Like, and if there's one thing from all of this is like, I can't trust anybody, any outlets. I can't trust MSM. I can't trust these, little bootleg videos that are coming out that are trying to tell us the truth. I can't trust. There's nothing to trust. Like you kind of just have to think for yourself at that point. And it's like the same extremists. And I don't want to offend anybody by saying this, so don't bite my head off if you're super religious. But like the same people who are saying my body, my choice for vaccines are the same ones saying don't get abortions, and vice versa. The ones who are fighting for abortions are the ones who are like, you have to do this to your body. And it's just like, it's so clashy. Like, why can't we just accept each other's views? You know what I mean? Like, and think like, hey, you like, just open your mind, man. Like,
we blurred the lines on fact and reality. And that's another reason why we're in this situation, because there's things that used to be truth that are no longer truth, and we've made it a really fuzzy area. And the things that are debatable are now, depending on who it's going to benefit, are fact, Like, we'll use your example. I'll speak for myself personally. That I don't believe in abortions. I think that that's a life, and if you kill a life, you're still a life, right? And I don't think there should be a my body, my choice. And part of that comes from when they talk about the fetus like it's nothing there, right? So I'm like, well, no, that to me, that's fact is that you had conception, that's living, and it will form into something. It's life. Where we go to the vaccine, it's like, hey, well, I think, okay, we'll put it like this. If we didn't have any of this, what would nature do? And that's kind of how I've been looking at things. Would nature provide us with a vaccine? No. So you have a right to choose if you want something that's not natural put in your body. Babies are natural. They come, and if we had none of this technology, could you go get an abortion in nature? Probably not. I mean, and that's kind of where I'm at. And I think that's where we blurred the lines where, not to say it's not okay to have your opinions on abortion, but because we just allowed people to take that and go so much further, we fight about everything.
Well, and it's not so much like I totally respect beliefs. Some of my closest friends feel the same way as you. It's just like the states who want to ban it. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't like the choice. The choice is the bottom line in both of those scenarios, is having the choice to be able to. You know what I mean? And it's just yeah, I don't know. Sherry Lynn, really quick. I know Sherry Lynn just said that her daughter-in-law can't even go back to college. I know some colleges, like big wig colleges that don't need your admission, they are being really strict on it. But my college announced the same thing, and I'm not going to name my college just so I don't throw them under the bus. But my college, I transferred to a university in the fall, and they said the same thing. But when I asked them, but kind of behind the scenes, what if that was necessary, and they said that all you have to do is fill out a form that says you don't want to for personal reasons. You're still allowed on campus. The teachers don't know who is and who isn't. They just want to track you in case there's a tracing issue and they need to figure out who, what, where it came from. So, which might be more invasive for some people, but I didn't mind. I'm like, hell yeah, instead of taking the vax, I can still go to classes online. I'll do that. So just have her check that out and actually talk to people instead of like reading the article, because it freaked me out too. I'm like, well, I ain't going to school then. Screw you guys, you know?
Well,
but yeah.
Here, my son is going to college, and John Tisha and Chris are aware of my situation. So he was not going to be able to start school because they mandated vaccines. I tried getting medical exemption. I tried doing religious exemption and was denied both. My son had COVID. We all had COVID last year in December. My son was literally just so frustrated with it. He's going off to college. He's about to be an adult. And he's like, I just want to go to school. Like, I just want to have a normal life. And I thought, okay, I can decide for him right now. But next week, literally next week, my son will be an adult and can make his own choice. So we sat, we talked, and my son got the vaccine. I respected his choice because I trust him. He's very responsible. And literally while they're doing this, I was literally in tears. Like, I cannot tell you how many tears I have cried because I truly fear for what's to come. I still have that fear in my heart, and I pray every day that let it not be all these other things that we're hearing, right? But it is what it is. My son made a choice, and I just felt that we should have not had to be put in that situation. I think that is the saddest part for me. The mandates, I think, is bad. And when you guys talk about my body, my choice, I feel the same way as for abortion. I believe in the rights. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I don't think it should be used as birth control, etc. But I do believe in a woman's right to choose. That's just my take on it. But I also want to talk really quick before we show that video. I want to talk really quick about the Delta variant, and I want to ask you guys a question. Do you, Brittany, believe that the Delta variant is worse than the original variant?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because as I stated earlier, I am constantly on the phone with my sister-in-law, who is an RN at Kaiser in Modesto, and I have a friend who's very vocal on her page about what she inquires and how she literally goes to meet a patient talks about them, laughs with them, and then they struggle to breathe. You know, her next 2 shifts, they're struggling to breathe. And then the shift after that, they're ventilated, which sucks, but she feels peace of mind because at least they're not suffering and struggling to breathe anymore, but she knows that they're going to die soon. So like just hearing her open testimonies and hearing my sister-in-law is very punk rock, if you will. She's very against the government. She voted for Trump as well. She's just she likes her guns. She doesn't trust the man. You know, that's just kind of how she is. And so to hear her testimonies, it's not just some nurse on Facebook told me. It's legit my sister-in-law of the past, 15 years of my life. And hearing her testimony and saying, like, just the last month, she has had 2 of her patients that were pregnant died. A 33-year-old and a 37-year-old literally delivered the baby and died. And this wasn't happening in 2020. You know what I mean? And to hear... she's like, we have bodybuilders, and she's like, I'll never tell anybody to go get vaccinated. I just know that 90% of my patients aren't vaccinated, and they're not the older crowd. The older people that are there are vaccinated, but they're just in the hospital. They're not dying like these younger people are. That are, I mean, unless the original strain purely like got way more aggressive out of nowhere, which I that would be unlikely. It would be more of a mutation from a scientific standpoint. I just wholeheartedly think that this is the one time, and I had COVID. We all didn't you guys have COVID, Chris and John Tisha? Or just Chris? So yeah, I had COVID. Shell, I know you were hawking up a lung on on one of our lives when you were even recovering from it. Like that was livable, but no joke. I like legit was a little bit nervous to like get this variant, even though I trust my body. Like, don't get me wrong, I still probably wouldn't get it, but from what all the testimonies from people that I know, love, and trust, it's just been. It's scary. It's like I kind of voluntarily was like, hey, I'm just not gonna leave my house. I'm not necessarily wearing a mask at the grocery store, but you know what I mean? Like I'm a little more cautious. I might actually put on hand sanitizer this time.
Chris.
2 seconds. Hold on. All right. So I do not. I believe. And I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna go based off facts because I had to double check my numbers from when I last looked. Brittany, no disrespect to your sister or anybody else that's in my area, because I do live like we're right next door to where her sister's at. I don't, because I've been following our COVID numbers from last year and monitoring. Okay, where were we at last year and where are we at now? A few weeks ago, I went to the school board to go protest, or I will say protest, to go speak out against masks on kids, right? When I had went in, some of the stuff that I had used, the data I used was, hey, last year, August 8th, or whatever the date was, we had 20 new case, I think our case rate was 20 a day, or 20 over 100,000, something like that, right? And right now we're at 19.1. The Delta variant, I will say yes, is just as, if not more in some areas, it's spreading more. There are more cases. In some areas, it's in California, it's not. We are at the same spot we were last year as far as people getting it or people testing positive. But when it comes to the deaths, no. The deaths, we right now, Stanislaus and Modesto, they're on a 7-day average, 2 deaths per day. Where I'm at right next door, we're only like 10 minutes apart. San Joaquin County, 7-day average, 1 death per day. There were 0 deaths today in my county, 3 yesterday. The importance, and I'm not saying that these lives don't matter, but the importance of what I'm saying is that they're trying to make it seem, at least in my area, that this thing is killing people. Last year, we had triple to quadruple the deaths at certain parts of August and September, and even in July when it was hot. Like, and then there were certain times where, okay, yes, the numbers might be from last year, maybe comparable or like twice as much, but I have not seen near as many deaths, and I've been tracking this for 1.5 years. Now, I have known more people that are younger to get sick with this new variant. But for me, I always go back to questioning, okay, because we hear the stories And there's been a couple people that I've worked with that have gotten sick and or have known somebody that's young. And I get, okay, you could have a bodybuilder, but for me, it's like, okay, we don't know this guy's, you could say he's fairly healthy, but he could have been having a heart problem. I mean, if you're that big and you're pumping all that weight, okay. We have heard some crazy stories. When I'm looking at the data and I listen to some of the stories, I'm like, personally, I think I've watched right next door to the west of us. We watched Alameda County. No, I'm sorry. Santa Clara County, where San Jose's at. They reduced their numbers by 400, their death toll. So I'm always super skeptical. But the one thing I know for sure is our deaths are nowhere near where they are last year. So for me, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I know it's not as bad.
You have a vaccinated population. It might not be tremendous, but you still have a vaccinated population, which could be preventing those. And
100%.
I hear what you're saying. And I just use numbers from her, day to day in, and the bodybuilder. Yes, I did ask her about comorbidities of the patients that she was losing. And she said that there's some who have like some serious, implications of their health. But the only thing that really there's people who would come in that just have an overweight BMI, which in their chart would show overweight, but they're no different than me. You know what I mean? Like I'm technically just overweight on my BMI right now too. You know what I mean? Like it's not, most of Americans are overweight on the BMI. So it's not that when they say pre-existing conditions, but they're not telling you what it is. It's like, well, are we talking being overweight? Are we talking pregnant? Because pregnant's a pre-existing condition. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? They have 3 hearts of their, 3 chambers of their heart working instead of 4. Like what are we talking with pre-existing? Because it's so vague. It's like, oh, well, they weren't healthy to begin with. And it's like, yes, but to what extent? It could be asthma or again, BMI overweight. Like it's just, you know what I mean?
And I think, and I hear you, and I agree with you 100%. I do. I know there's more to the story, and I think that's where. Yeah, I know on a personal level when you know somebody and you hear some of the stuff they're going through, that yes, like you're the hospital she's at, yes, she might be seeing a lot more than other places. But overall, when I'm looking at, especially at the data, still to this day, I think we're sitting at in the surrounding counties where I'm at, 73 to 6% average of these deaths are over the age of 65. And when we're talking data, like you said, we don't know really what's wrong with these people. We also don't really know how old the older people are that are dying, because since this thing gets started, they've never been honest with the data. And I understand HIPAA might get involved in some of it, as far as releasing data, somebody's personal data to the public. But that's where I think when you start hearing them talk about stories of somebody like LA, had a story of a young black man or pastor, right? I think he was in his 30s, died and wanted the vaccine. Somebody's got to question that. So you're telling me that the family gave you permission to release this guy's, what he went through in the hospital? That doesn't sound right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, there are people out there dying, but I got to go back to the numbers. I don't think it's still hurting people, but not nearly where we were at last year.
Well, but they're younger, like you said. Like they are younger, and even if it's not as many deaths, the fact that they're younger and the fact that, like I said, if she has 20 patients and 18 are unvaccinated, that's kind of telling me something. And I'm not trying to say go get vaccinated or nothing. I'm just saying per what she learns and why she feels the way she does. She don't even get the flu shot because she don't believe in it. You know what I mean? So this is just like a unpopular opinion, I guess, because she is in the middle. And like what she says, I'm going to pull up something. I don't know if you guys can pull it up. I should be able to share it. But our hospital, actually, our local hospital, because we have such a high refusal of vaccines here, that our hospital actually put out something, and it did the demographics of who is currently admitted in the hospital. So our hospitals are overrun, but they're overrun because these nursing homes won't take the old people who get admitted. And when they're starting to recover, they won't take them back to the nursing home. So it's not, they're just literally, they're moving rooms out so these old people can sit here, and now people's cancer surgeries are getting canceled because there's no beds, but there's no beds because of the nursing homes. But they did, go ahead.
Oh no, here's something I want you to think about, because I'll be honest with you, if I could get into the hospital and check the beds, I would. And maybe you could ask, because I know at San Joaquin County Hospital they were doing this. There's 24 ICU beds. Half went to non-COVID, the other half went to COVID, right? That should be 12 beds, but it wasn't. There was only 6 beds because they couldn't use every other bed because they would be too close. So then they're telling people, hey, we're at 100% capacity. I'm curious in your area if they're doing the same thing where they're like, hey, these rooms are too close to each other. We can't have them, because I don't know. Maybe they're not, but I know they were doing that here. So you get 6 people in San Joaquin County Hospital with COVID, and then all of a sudden it's on the news. San Joaquin County is at 100% capacity. They're packed.
Well, and they could say it for their floors, because there's a clean floor and a dirty floor. Typically in the hospital, there's, you know what I mean? But I do know a nurse and a paramedic who got the vaccine, but is like, it's not that serious, even though he's not directly, he's in the ER, but he's not directly treating the COVID patients, because he does do that double job. And I don't want to discredit anybody or anything, but he had said that their EMS room, where there's a room in the hospital for paramedics to go and just kind of regroup and do what they need to do. They actually kicked them out of there to put more beds because there was no room for these people. And again, it's because of the elderly holding cell, basically, because they're trying to keep these elderly, but the nursing homes are like, nope, we don't have staff here to keep, you know, the ratios and XYZ. And so they're not letting them come back in. So
I just want to jump in on that really quick. So I actually do not believe that it is worse either. That's just my opinion. And the reason I say that is that, like, I've been looking at the VAERS website. I've been looking at numbers here in Chicago, and I've been looking at numbers I've been following Florida a lot. Just because, you know, that's been politicized, because, you know, DeSantis may or may not run. And so I've been watching the numbers, because he's like all for open, no mandates, this and that. So I've been kind of watching it, and his numbers are not worse than last year. Our numbers are not worse than last year. And then I have to add in, for me, the reason I say that too, not just because of the numbers, right? Because numbers can be manipulated. So for me, I think the biggest part for me is, look at all the things that have come out, even with the CDC, with the test flaws of the actual PRC, where that they have openly admitted that it cannot detect COVID from the flu. So I think, how can we actually say that this is worse when even the tests back then were flawed? So for me, I feel like it's not. I do have my I baptized my godson. His mother is a nurse, and we talk frequently. And she's had a little different take than what your sister-in-law has experienced. And she has had a lot of people who are vaccinated who have succumbed to the D variant, and they're vaccinated. There was, I think, was it like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago? I could be off on my weeks, but it was where they were talking about people that were vaccinated being super spreaders. Do you guys remember that? I think it was like 2 weeks, something like that. So for me, I think COVID itself it's terrible, because we have lost so many people, right? Especially people with underlying conditions. So for me, I think it's just fucked up all the way around, and I don't wish that on anyone. But again, I just don't trust. I really don't trust. I don't trust anything they're saying. I think viruses mutate. That's what they do. I think our bodies were meant to rebuild and regenerate on their own. I'm just not buying it, to be honest. I'm just not buying that it's worse than it was last year.
But if it's taking out a different age demographic, you don't see that as a more serious threat than original? Because a year ago, right, we were like, I literally looked at the CDC numbers and I was like, not, like 80% of your deaths are 59 and up per the CDC chart. Like that was 80% of your deaths was 59 and up. And it's not that way anymore. Like even the people who are like, we already know that the COVID shot doesn't fully prevent you from getting this Delta variant. There's multiple breakthrough infections, but it's still showing true that it's not it's preventing you from dying. And the people who are dying who were vaccinated had like some severe previous issues
Right,
or they
and
were
that's-
older.
And
I would
that's
say
that's
no.
a good point, but my point again is for me is that how can I trust the CDC's numbers
Mm-hmm.
when I don't believe they've been completely honest from day one?
Right.
And even though it's a different age demographic, honestly, look at last year. What did they focus on as far as COVID? The original focus was on African Americans. It's
Mhm.
killing African Americans. Then it was killing Latinos. And then it's killing old people. Now it's killing young people. I don't think that the rhetoric is going to stop. I think the next variant is going to attack a whole different demographic. I think it's more I don't know. I just think it's a lot of smoke mirrors. But like I said, it's great that we all have different opinions and we all bring something different to the table. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's important for like people to see us having these conversations, because it'll make people, like, if you don't believe what we're saying or you don't like what we're saying, go research it. Just like when they said in my county, and I know, like you said, your sister's right next door, and their county has the same problem. Or I won't say the same problem, but they had the same statistics, and the problem was within the statistics that they're pushing out. They said in my county that Latinos were the hardest hit, and we're dying faster than anybody else. Okay, especially like the older Latinos, right? But then when you go look at the data, 49.3% of my county is Hispanic Latino, and we are 51% of the deaths. Well, no, duh. When you take those two and you look at it, like, yeah, okay, and then they'll be like, well, the black population 7%, but they're 13% of the deaths. Okay, well, that one, okay, we could question what's going on there. Is it that, is it a cultural thing? Is it that they're not, taking it serious in some of these communities? But that's not even that far off either. I mean, if it was like 7%, but they're 50% of the death, yeah, but 7 and 13, okay. But that's how they were playing the numbers, and they were manipulating people or to think that it was out there. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think even with that, we're still the Hispanic population still wasn't quick to go get the vaccine. My point is I think people it's good for them to hear this, because we know that there's issues with what's been going on. We know that, they've lied to us and all this other stuff, and they may have told us some truths. But we can have a conversation about it. And we also accept that, yeah, people have died. And like I said, I know younger people are getting hit by it. There's just less people overall, and I think I like to throw it because I think that's the positive, because that either means the vaccine's working or most people already had it and they still have antibodies. So I think that's why I say it's better. The less deaths, I think that's a positive.
Right. Yeah, I got my antibodies checked on Friday again from back in November, because I got them checked in April and I had them still. And then I just got them checked Friday. My doctor's been really cool about, he knows I don't want to get vaccinated. He's like, well, why? Kind of just, I said, because I don't want to be on the mesothelioma commercials. But
No, exactly. And that was another thing I was
Did you
going to
take
bring
the
up.
COVID-19 shot?
No,
2020 or
seriously.
2021?
So that's my thing, right? It's okay. Like when we're talking about numbers and we're talking about all this stuff, right? So there was a study that came out. It came from like other, I believe it came out. Oh my God, chicken nugget moment. Anyways, the CDC started investigating it, and it was that young men that were healthy were showing heart issues after getting vaccinated. So the CDC, it came from, I want to say Israel, but I could be thinking about Israel because all the shit going on in Israel. So don't quote me, because I know we did it on another video a while back. So I can't remember exactly where it started coming from, but it has been stopped in other places. because of this. The CDC did make an article, they did acknowledge it, and they did say they were looking into it. We have not heard shit about that investigation. So my thing is, again, if it is going to cause more harm than damage in a young male, why push it? You know what I mean? Those are the things that make me very skeptical. And I think somebody on the panel said earlier, like, I think because they politicized it, people are so fucked up now. We're all fucked up and we have trust issues and we're like, hell no. And then some people, we're all over the place. And I think that none of us is wrong for having an opinion that we have.
I feel like we're in an abusive relationship with the government.
Period.
Like, we want to break up with them. We want the hurt and the cheating and the pain to be over, but we just can't get away because they just keep coming back in our lives.
It's true.
Child support.
Yeah, they got it. And if they, there you go. And if we do break up with them, they're going to get us for child support.
Your job.
My job.
I feel like you've seen that South Park episode when they're like, they took our jobs. No, I mean, when my sister and I, of course, I come from my angle and she comes from the frontline angle, and sometimes we're on the same page and sometimes she's like, actually not, at least in my hospital. And I think a lot of it is there's hospital politics, like 100% hospital politics. Like up here, they were asking doctors, like, why can't we give them ivermectin, or why can't we do this? And they're saying because the government isn't allowing them to, which is crap. You know what I mean? Whereas in my sister's hospital at Kaiser, they've been way more, the doctors can do what they want. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so regulated and they trust their doctors. So that's also going to disgruntle a worker or not. Like, well, you're not even letting this doctor try. That's not fair. But then there's the other side where it's like, no, we're good. It's just we tried this, and that. Like, her hospital even tried Regeneron. But the thing with Regeneron, is that how you say it? Regeneron? Yeah. The thing with that is, she said that it's so expensive you can't even get it. They're not making it available. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
there's a video, I'm gonna send it to you guys. Just watch it whenever you guys get time. So you guys just watch it at your leisure. And he's a immunologist. And he gives like a bunch of information. And I didn't get to watch. I was hearing bits and pieces. My husband shared it with me. So I'm going to share it with you guys. And maybe we can come back another time when everybody has time. And we can get into that one. Because he gives a lot of good information. And I will post it on Facebook so you guys can see it. So that when we do talk about it, you know what we're talking about. So that we don't have to play the whole video. Because I hate that we have to do like little bits and pieces. You know what I mean? And you don't get the full extent of what is actually being said. Right. So I'm going to share it with you guys. Let me do it right now because my ass will forget.
Jonathan, I'm down for that shot.
Okay, I just shared it with you guys so you guys can see it when you get a check. But he's an immunologist. I looked into who he was because I like to look into who these people are and how reputable they are and where they come from. So I did look at that as well. And it seems pretty much on the up and up. So those are the reasons why I feel so, I just feel the way that I do. So like not trusting, you know what I mean?
Well, in conspiracy land, and I'll just say for those who don't know, my husband's on the deep end of conspiracy land. But I'm here to keep him grounded. No, just kidding. He was saying that there's talk of, and I guess it was a co-founder of Pfizer, one of the vaccines. I don't know if he said Pfizer, but basically talking about antibody dependency. Basically, that our bodies are just going to keep needing antibodies, and hence the boosters for the rest of our lives, and that's also a thing too, And it like you said, Shelly, super spreaders are a thing. Like, and it blows my mind that they were calling that lady, that doctor that came out that said super spreaders, that they blocked her and silenced her and censored her, but that's actually what's happening. I always compare it to Typhoid Mary. Like, you literally, like your you're getting COVID, you're not dying. That's great. You're not dying because of the vaccine. But instead of feeling sick and staying home, you're getting a little bit of sniffles. And then you're like, oh, I'm fine. And then you realize, no, you had COVID and you just touched someone's grandma's hand. You know what I mean? Like, and then now you're spreading it because your symptoms were suppressed. Like,
see, I said this, you brought up a good question. This is why I say I'm skeptical. So I was listening to somebody and they were like, yeah, it's like a treatment. And I was like, oh, fuck, it is like a treatment. You're just going to keep going back and getting these treatments, because if you listen to what they say, and this is where my skepticism comes in, it produces proteins or whatever, right, to help combat the virus, to help reduce the symptoms. This is the first time in my life that I realized two things. One, I still get the flu even when I don't get the flu. Like if somebody were to sneeze and have the flu, it still gets in my nose. And then if I'm walking around and I sneeze somewhere else, I can spread it. And I was like, holy, wow, mind blowing. That's how we pass the stuff around. And if I already had the flu, I'm not going to get sick.
Yep.
But now you take that into COVID and it's like, okay, I understand the spreading it, right? But it's not, most of what's coming out, it's not a vaccine. It's the mRNA stuff. And it's
a therapeutic. It's not a,
yeah. They're calling it a vaccine, but it's a treatment, because you have to keep coming back for it. And I got into it the other day with somebody. They're like, well, not all antibodies last forever. Yes, but they have done extensive studies on certain viruses, and they can tell you, okay, these viruses, you might keep those antibodies for 7 to 8 years. These viruses, 15 years. These viruses, you can keep the antibodies your whole life to fight this stuff. And then some, they last 6 months, a year, and then you got to get the illness again, like the cold or something, right? Or it changes, the strand changes. And as I'm doing some research, I'm like, man, I really do. Because now they're talking about boosters, but I also want to leave, I'll end with this on this topic. If you watch what the WHO put out, we haven't been hearing anything from the WHO. Don't hear a lot from them. But
we just did,
put out, their head guy said he recommends we don't get the boosters because he's afraid that the boosters are causing more dangerous variants. And I think to what you were saying, I think that is a good point. If our bodies are fighting these and we're becoming dependent, and it's not actually taking care of the virus or killing the virus, and we're just passing it on, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that we just don't know, and I think they move way too fast.
Well, there was a study in India, because in India, and they kind of said the same thing. So there was a study in India because India got their population 58% vaccinated by March 27th or 28th or something like that of this year. 58% of their population. They all were just like, hey, yeah, let's do this. They were able to drop their mask mandate a couple months later, and by June, they were fully open, like able to rock and roll. And then people started getting COVID again. And they were like, well, what the heck's happening? Is it because of Delta, or are their antibodies weaning off? Are they lessening in potency? And now they're finding that they have to, either way, they have to study it more. And so the US is just like, oh, let's get boosters, like not even doing the logic behind it. They're just like, nope, we want to give us all the boosters. And now, like, because that same article, Chris, about the WHO, he mentions the rich countries hoarding all these booster shots too, just to get them out to the people. I got an intruder over here. But yeah, and so now it's like everyone, and even this article was like the US they're jumping the gun on these boosters, but he's trying to get ahead because he knows he's so far behind that he's not, it's disastrous, and it sucks because these nurses, like my sister, are like, hell yeah, I'm going to get a booster, because she's seeing people her age die in her ward who are saying, I love you to their, 4-year-old children. Like, and that sucks. That's super sad. But it's like, now she's jumping to get the booster that maybe isn't even,
Right.
isn't even a thing yet. But.
And I know like other people have put it in the comments, and I think we might have touched on it briefly. But what happened to the flu and all the people that kills every year? You haven't heard about it in 2020. You haven't heard about it in 2021. Like, and that vaccine changes all the time. It's never the same vaccine. Like, I don't know if people know that, but the flu vaccine is not the same vaccine. And all of a sudden in 2020 and 2021, the flu is not killing people anymore.
Well, see, and that's where they messed up, because if they were, and I'm not saying that I'm smarter than them, or I'm not trying to get off this pompous like attitude, but like obviously
Go ahead, Trump.
it was me, guys. It was me. I said it. Just kidding. No, but I mean, if they would have said, "Hey, there's 100 cases in the nation," I would have felt that was more credible than saying not at all. Because yes, we're distancing, we're masking, we're washing our hands more, we were more aware of our surroundings, and maybe even though, like, you know, probably us in this panel were not distancing ourselves, there was people who were. There was a good chunk of people who were persuaded to stay home the whole time. So yeah, it's going to be less cases, but the fact that they said absolutely none is where they lose my trust. Like, oh, we're not recording it this year, it's fine. Like, what?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so that's where we're at. But just to kind of like round up, we're going to end with a funny video. I thought this video was super hilarious. And it was the Trump that we all know and love. Well, not all of us, because I guess Democrats don't love him too much, right? Or liberals don't love him too much, to be honest. But we all believe on this panel that everybody has a right to their opinion. There's no disrespect between us. There's no love lost. We love each other. We respect each other's opinions, and everybody deserves to have a voice. Our only thing here is that we want to plant a seed. We want you to look into things for yourself. If we can give you some information, great, if that's helpful for you. If not, then it is what it is. But that being said, we're going to end tonight's video with this. You can play it when you're ready.
No sound. No saying. Oh, what just happened?
I have no idea. Did we get thrown out?
Yeah, no sound. Well, not